Hello YouTube, it's Sign Here with Hobbies Man once again, and today we're going to be doing our wrap-up video for the month of August. And I do apologize because this is going to be split into clips because I just don't have the time to sit down and record the whole video in one go. Also, I apologize if you guys hear construction noises in the background. I live in an apartment complex, and in front of my apartment complex they're building another one, and they're really kind of nearing the end game here, so there's a lot of motion going on, and there's a lot of people making a lot of noise in the background. So I apologize for that, but I don't have any other time to record, so here we are. So I'm going to talk about what I've been watching, what I hopefully will watch before the end of the day, which is the end of the month. Then we'll talk about what I read in terms of comic books, and then in terms of manga. And both of these sections are going to have digital comic books and digital manga. So it's going to be what I've watched, what I want to watch, what I've read, comic books, digital, what I've read, comic books, physical, and what I hope to read before the end of the day. And the same thing with the manga, and I might have a little tiny novel section there because I am reading a novel right now. So yeah, let's get started with what I've been watching. So I'm not going to talk too much in depth about anything because most of it I've already reviewed in some way, some capacity, or I might want to review it later. I'm not too sure. I haven't really decided for everything yet. But let's start off the month with Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy. This is an anime or animated project that is available on Netflix. It's 3 different series. Each of them is 6 episodes long. And together they make up this kind of storyline for the Transformers that starts in Cybertron during their initial war. Then it turns into a space-oriented series for 6 episodes. And then it ends up on Earth in order to have the Beast Wars kind of timeline tie in. And so, generally speaking, it's not actually bad. I think the best part is the ending of the first section of 6 episodes, and some of the stuff in the last part, which is called Kingdom. Earthrise is generally bad, but there are some interesting kind of bits of world building there that happen, and it is what it is. You know, a lot of people are going to have a lot of different opinions, but generally the consensus I've seen online is Siege is okay, Earthrise is bad, Kingdom is pretty not bad, right? So yeah, that's it for Transformers. It was interesting. I like the style of the models. I don't necessarily like the way they were animated, but I don't really hate it. I think overall it was pretty well done for what it was. And the 3D CGI animation definitely works for Transformers because they are mechanical beings, and so they're not going to move the same way that we think humans move, right? So a lot of the finickiness of CGI animation kind of gets lost in the fact that these are not actual humans moving, right? So I quite like that. I think that is very well done there. So yeah, then I watched Lightyear, the movie. I had a great time with this movie. I watched it in Spanish with my family, and I loved the sci-fi elements in it. It was great. I really enjoyed this movie. As a sci-fi movie, it tied into something that I'm very nostalgic for. In my childhood, my biggest, most important toy was this awesome version of Buzz Lightyear, and I actually had a few. I had the normal green one. I had this one that was silver and blue, and we bought these at the Disney store way back when I was a little child, and I distinctly remember having them. I distinctly remember my mom taking me with her to the Disney store to buy these same toys for some of my cousins because they also wanted their own version. And Toy Story, at least the first one, and I think the second one, were pretty big movies that I used to watch a lot as a child. They might have been the most important movies as a child besides Bug's Life, and then Ratatouille when that came out. in like how I am today, I guess. I'm not too sure about that statement specifically, but Ratatouille definitely affected me as an adult. One of the reasons I like cooking is because I watched Ratatouille, and before that, my interest in space was definitely because of Buzz Lightyear, and I really liked the TV show as well. So watching Buzz Lightyear as an actual person who's actually a CGI animated toy, a CGI animated person, who then turned into a toy for the Toy Story movies was really interesting. I really liked the movie. I thought it was great. Really liked it. Then I watched Bullet Train. I personally found it really enjoyable. It's a very kind of mostly just aesthetic, cool action movie, kind of like a Tarantino film, but it all happens in a train. So it's like Kill Bill, but you made it the commuter, so you put it on a train, and then you put it in Asia, or in Tokyo specifically, because weave stuff is like the top tier kind of vibe right now, right? So that's basically what that is, and I really enjoyed it. My mom found it funny. My sister liked that. What's it called? Bad Bunny was in it, and my dad didn't really care too much about it, but he took us to the movies anyways because it's fun to go to the movies with your family. So yeah, that's Bullet Train. I liked it. I thought it was fun. I really enjoyed it. Then I watched the first season and a half of Manifest. I actually should have watched the next season and a half that I was missing, but I just got around to not doing that because I watched other things. But Manifest is an interesting show. It's about these people that take an airplane, and then somehow this airplane forces them through time 5 years ahead. And so what happens is that they come back to their normal lives, but to them a few hours have passed, and to everyone around them 5 years has passed. And so it affects their lives and their situations. It also affects them because they kind of have this mutation that allows them to have premonitions and connect with each other. It's a really odd kind of premise, but it's a really good show. I really enjoyed it. And a fourth season is coming out here soon, so that's pretty interesting. Then I watched the first 2 episodes of She-Hulk, and I have a lot of mixed feelings about this. Aesthetically, Jennifer Walters is like top tier. Like the actress is really beautiful, and the CGI model, even though it's pretty rough around the edges because it doesn't have the big bucks and 15 years of development like the Hulk model has, just the aesthetic of like a giant hot woman is like really cool, right? But the show is just not great. I don't really love it. I feel that it's one of these kind of like modern Marvel kind of ideas where it's like, in order to pass down the mantle, it has to be from a man to a woman, and the woman has to tear down the guy and then build herself up on tearing him down, and it doesn't really work for me. However, it doesn't really bother me all that much either. I just think it's kind of not necessary to do it like that. Like, Jennifer Walters, She-Hulk already exists as a great character. I don't know too much about them, but I do know enough about them to know that they are supposed to be a really great, well-done character in the comic books from way back when they were introduced. And to kind of have this version just be like really crappy in comparison is pretty sad. But I do have to admit that some of the jokes do make me laugh a lot. And I've also seen that a lot of the people that have issues with the show are on the younger side, like 20 to 35. And then most people that don't really care are 35 and up. So that probably has to do with the life experience that these people have had. And so it's kind of interesting to see that. Like, you know, I'm talking about the media enjoying sphere on the men's side. You know, like on YouTube, the men that are older than 35 don't really care. The men that are younger than 35 are pretty upset and offended by this. And then there's the comic skaters, which are all like 50-year-old dudes that have nothing better to do than cry over comic books, right? But I personally don't find it to be all that horrible, but I also don't really care too much. Like, it doesn't really, like, it doesn't work for me, but I also don't think it's that bad. It just, like, some of the scenes are really, really annoying. And especially because you know that if it was the opposite way, if it was a female character passing down the mantle to a male, a lot of the jokes and ways that this is being done would really be negative. And so that kind of bothers me because there's no equality in that kind of idea, right? So, yeah, but overall, I don't really hate it. It's a very short show, so it doesn't really take too much for me to watch it. If I'm scrolling and I'm not finding anything to watch while I'm eating dinner, I'll just put on the She-Hulk episode because, you know, it's not that big of a deal. So, yeah, I don't really hate it. I don't like it either. It's just kind of middle of the road. Now, Sandman, I watched the first 5 episodes, and I found that one to be really interesting. I think it's really weird. And the 5th episode, which is just kind of like a tangent kind of story, doesn't really work for me, but I didn't really hate it either. Again, it was just kind of weird. I like the actors in it. I like the storyline. I like a lot of the things. I know there's been a lot of gender bending in the Sandman show, since I have no attachment to the original source material. It doesn't really bother me. And since there's nothing like abrasive in terms of like woke culture or whatever you want to call it, like, you know, more leftist leaning politics in the show, like, it doesn't bother me. I don't really have any problems with it. I mean, I am left leaning myself, so it's not like I find these offensive to begin with, but, you know, sometimes they are like a little bit too abrasive and they're kind of annoying in that sense. But Sandman doesn't have any of these issues. The one thing I noticed was that they changed John Constantine from a man to a woman. I don't know if that was, you know, for a specific reason, like, you know, John Constantine's a problematic character or something like that. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure that he's like one of these like LGBT representative type characters, and he's a really important one. So I don't see why they changed his gender, but it doesn't really matter. I think Joanna Constantine, or whatever her name is also a character in a further continuity, so it doesn't really make a difference. But I found it interesting. I don't know, it's whatever. Then House of the Dragon, which is really interesting. I like that show a lot. I was a pretty average fan of Game of Thrones. I liked it. I watched it a lot near the end of the 8th season. I watched all 7 seasons before it, and then I found the last one to be pretty bad, and I never finished watching it because it was just poorly done. And I think it's good overall. I haven't really read the books. I also find the books to be really taxing to read. Like, they don't really feel that exciting. They kind of feel like textbooks. But, every once in a while there's like, oh, there's magic, and oh, there's dragons, right? So it is what it is, but the show is great. House of the Dragon is really interesting. I like the way that they're going about the politics and the fact that, women should not or cannot inherit the throne in Westeros. And so there's this abrasiveness that is happening between these people, and then it's supposed to cover the Dance of the Dragons, which is the battle between the Targaryens in order to decide who's supposed to be leading and stuff like that. It's really, really interesting. It's well done. The female characters are great. The male characters are really interesting and horrible people, and I'm really excited to watch more of it. It's been a great time to sit Monday during my lunchtime to enjoy the show, so I really, really like that. Then I watched Dragon Ball Superhero, which is a great movie. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm not a super fan of Dragon Ball in any capacity, but it is one of my earlier, direct interactions with manga and anime, where I was conscious of the fact that it was manga and anime. And a lot of the movie pays homage to a lot of the original Dragon Ball. The main character, the main bad guys are Red Ribbon Army. And it also pays homage to the early saga of Dragon Ball Z, the Raditz part, where, they take Gohan and they're gonna do something to him, but then Piccolo saves him, and they even have a direct homage to that where Gohan uses the same attack. So I really enjoyed it. I thought the CGI animation, even though it's like a little bit odd at the very beginning, by the time that you're into the story, it's good. I really enjoyed it. I thought it looked great. Pan is a really cute character. Piccolo was fun, and Vegeta and crew hanging out and on Beerus' planet, just hanging out and trying to get more powerful was fun. So I really liked the movie. I thought it was great. Also liked that it was kind of like a tokusatsu hero type thing, which is fun as well. And yeah, then I watched a bunch of One Piece movies. I watched episode Alabasta, which is great. I love Vivi so much, and seeing her animated was great. Then I watched Strong World, and I thought it was pretty bad. And it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't really interesting. It was kind of just like Skypiea 2.0, but less interesting, with the same kind of really not necessary villain at all. Shiki doesn't seem to be all that interesting, but I've heard that he is actually a character that is important in the actual storyline, but I have just finished reading Whole Cake Island, and I don't know when Shiki is supposed to come up, so it is what it is. The intro song at the beginning of the movie was also just weird as hell, man. It was really odd, but it was, okay. I enjoyed watching One Piece crew do One Piece crew things. So, yeah. Then I watched Film Gold last night, and tonight I'm hoping to watch Stampede. But yeah, I watched Film Gold, and I think this one was probably the best movie so far. None of them are particularly great, but this one was probably the most enjoyable. Visually, it looked great. What was I saying? Oh, sorry. I watched Z, and then I watched Gold. Z was the best one so far. Gold was the best animated, though. And I like C a lot. I thought the character was good. I like the inclusion of Kuzan, Aokiji. And Gold was fun as well. The aesthetic and the premise and the character designs were awesome. Baccarat is a great female character. I like her design a lot. But the main bad guy was pretty lame. There wasn't really too much to him. I think Zed was a lot more interesting than Guild Tesoro and the other guy from Strong World, Shiki or whatever his name is. But I am going to watch Stampede later tonight if I have time. There's a Mexican soccer game, so I might watch that instead. But hopefully I'll watch Stampede tonight. If not, I'll watch it tomorrow. But yeah, then I watched Amazing Spider-Man 1, Andrew Garfield movie. It's significantly worse than I remember it being, but it's still my favorite Spider-Man movie because it is the one that I grew up with. I mean, yeah, Tobey Maguire technically is the first Spider-Man that I ever saw live action. But like when I was a teenager, the one that impacted me, the one that mattered to me was Andrew Garfield because he was this kid that was like pretty attractive, but he was still kind of like the loser of the group, and he managed to score the hottest blonde chick in school, and he managed to become a superhero, and that's awesome. And I quite like that movie, but watching it again, it was pretty bad. Like it's not a great movie, so it is what it is. Hopefully he comes back and does other Spider-Man movies later on. Then I watched Tekken Bloodline, which is a new animated Netflix series, which is pretty interesting. I don't really know too much about Tekken. My uncle used to play a lot when I was a kid, and we would play together. He'd always beat me, of course, but we would play together. And I kind of understand the lore of Tekken to an extent. And so watching the show was a pretty interesting kind of refresher on that lore, but also kind of a prequel to the games, I guess. And I'm interested to see if they actually continue to make more Tekken TV shows because it was a pretty good show. I quite liked it. So I would watch another one for sure. And yeah, I think that's everything that I watched. Like I said, I am going to try to watch Stampede tonight, but if I don't, it is what it is. It's not a big deal. So yeah, that's everything I've watched. Let me go do what I have to do, and then I'll come back and talk about my comic books and then the manga I've been reading. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this part of the video. If you're not interested in anything else, feel free to click away, and if you are interested in other stuff, feel free to stay. I'll see you guys in the next bit. Okay, so here's the second part of the wrap-up video. We're gonna look at the comic books, and then I'll look at the manga. So let's start with the digital comic books that I read this month, which would be just Barbaric. I read the first volume of this, Murderable Offenses, because I wanted to reread it, review it, and then also get into the new stuff that was released by Vault recently. So that's it for that. Barbaric is a pretty cool story. It's definitely an adult title though, so don't check it out if you're younger than that, but it is a really badass, awesome, like vaguely historical fantasy type kind of romp. It follows a barbarian who is cursed to eternal life where he has to do good, and his moral compass is his axe, who gets blood drunk every time they fight. So it's a really fun story. And they're joined by this witch who's a necromancer called Soren. And it's a really good stuff. It's really awesome. I definitely recommend you guys check it out. So let's get into all these single issue comic books that I bought and that I read. So starting with Savage Tales. I got this one because I thought it was interesting. However, it was kind of disappointing. Nothing here was really amazing. The only story that I really liked was the Red Sonja one, which is a really kind of short romp that she has in a little village where she has to fight this guy who has this kind of necromantic cursed sword, and that's it. Other than that, there was this one story about Vampirella and these two other kind of pulp hero stories. One of them is kind of vaguely Cthulhu-esque, and the other one is about this guy that's basically discount John Carter of Mars. So that's all there is to that. Then I read Barbaric Harvest Blaze. This one is, of course, the Barbaric one-shot. This is the spin-off story. It doesn't happen in the continuity of the current run of Barbaric. So this happens before, I think, or it might happen after. It doesn't really make too much of a difference when it happens, but I think this is before the mainline story of Barbaric, which was in Volume 1 and continued in Volume 2, which is called An Axe to Grind. So this is a secondary story in that universe following the titular Barbarian, right? So here we go. Barbarian issue 1, Axe to Grind. This is for volume 2. This one will also be a 3-issue series, I think. And this one follows up from where Murderable Offenses ended. So we follow the Barbarian, Owen, Soren, the necromantic witch, and his axe as they go battle this vampire and then do something else because I'm not sure what happens after that. So yeah, really good stuff with Vault here. Then another similar kind of idea, we have Death Dealer issue 3. This one follows this guy, Kern, I think is his name, who wears this helmet, which is this evil cursed thing that allows him to be the Death Dealer, which is this kind of Hyperborean age-styled anti-hero of sorts. Bella and Valeria continue on with this kind of heroic fantasy type thing. This one deals with the mythology of the Hyperion age or Hyperborean age. Whatever time period that Conan is in, it deals with that mythology as it pertains to Belit specifically, which then is going to affect Valeria, of course. Sweet Paprika 11. This is the second to last issue. This is kind of wrapping up the story here. We get to see that Paprika is finally deciding who she wants to be with, and it doesn't seem to be Satara. So that's pretty interesting. I'm pretty happy with this. I really like Mirka Andolfo's art style, so I'm definitely going to try to chase down all of her other works. So we'll see how that goes, but hopefully well. Then we have Sheena 7, this one's Sheena 8. Let me show you Sheena 7. Sheena 7. And then Sheena 8, which continues the story of Sheena. She's almost done with this run. It's only 2 more issues. And Sheena is a Jungle Girl story, and this one follows Sheena as she ends up on this time-traveling island, and she has to deal with these evil Russian people. They're not Russians. I think they're German. They might have been Nazis, which is pretty interesting. Then we have Moon Knight, the only Marvel series that I'm continuing on. That one was 14. Here's 13. And here's 12. Right? Yeah. And I honestly don't remember what happened in this one, but I liked it when I read it. So, yeah. Here we have Starhenge 2 and Starhenge 1. And Starhenge is actually kind of a weird one. It's beautiful art-wise, and the story is a really interesting kind of techno retelling of Arthurian legend, but it also has a modern-day kind of, I don't know, I want to call it like Twilight-esque part of the story that I really don't care about, and I'm really confused with it. I think there might have been a better way to structure the story, and the way they structured it isn't it. However, I'm basically 2/3 of the way through the series, and I'm willing to continue to collect it for now. If issue 3 happens to be really bad, I'll probably give up on it and just go in for the trade if I ever decide to give it another chance. So yeah, then we have Dead Lucky, which is the newest installment, or second to newest installment in the Massive Verse. So Massive Verse is basically this tokusatsu inspired superhero universe with an Image. It is primarily based around Radiant Black, which is Kyle Higgins' story, and there's a few other people that are involved with it. This one is Dead Lucky. This is one of the other characters that shows up. There's this other character called Rogue Sun, who is a Louisiana magical kind of superhero who happens to don armor, very similar to Power Rangers, because Radiant Black and Dead Lucky and all of these other Massive-verse characters are also basically Power Rangers. And there's this other one called Inferno Girl Red, who happens to have shown up in this storyline called Massive, or Supermassive, which is where the story gets its name from. The universe gets its name from. And so all of these characters, alongside this new character that Kyle Higgins recently debuted in the Image anthology collections that have been coming out lately, all make up the Massive-verse. And this one is the new member of that one, of that universe, and it follows this woman who is half Chinese, half Mexican. She lives in somewhere in California, I can't remember, probably Los Angeles, and there's this kind of cyberpunk, like authoritarian company kind of thing. It's really interesting. I quite like it. It's really cool, and the art style is pretty interesting. So yeah, that's Dead Lucky. Here we have, that's it actually. We're back to Savage Tales, so that's it for that. I did buy a few more, but I didn't read them this month for various reasons. So that's the big pile of stuff that I read this month in terms of single issue comic books. We have one book that I read here that is a collected edition, which is Harleen. I guess not volume 1, it's just Harleen by itself. This is by Stephen Cedric, who is a great author and a wonderful artist. I really like his stuff. And this is basically a origin story for Harley Quinn, and it's really, really good. I liked it a lot. It's this gigantic, like, coffee table book size, which is great. And it was wonderful. I already reviewed it, and I really, really enjoyed it. I'm definitely going to check out more works by this guy because he's really, really good. There's one more thing that I want to read this month, which I still should be able to do, and that is Batman White Knight. Hopefully I like this series. It's another DC Black Label series, and if I like it, I'll try to track down all the other White Knight Presents stories. I think there's this one, Curse of the White Knight, White Knight Presents Harley Quinn, and there's a new Red Hood series that's coming out right now, so that's pretty interesting. I'm probably going to be a trade waiter for that one, but I'm really excited to get into the further kind of Murphyverse of Batman. So yeah, I haven't read it yet, so I don't have too much to say, but I am definitely hoping to read this later today. So that's it for the comic books. Now let's do a little bit of a interlude here with this novel that I'm reading, which is Star Wars The High Republic, Volume 2, or Book 2, The Rising Storm. This is the second adult novel in the series, and it's really, really enjoyable, actually. I'm pleasantly surprised. When I went into the first one, The Light of the Jedi, I was basically primed to dislike it because in this very post-Disney taking over Star Wars kind of world, most things that are made by them are pretty bad, have some weird messaging, or not really well thought out when they have good messaging and just deliver it poorly. And I was expecting something like that. However, Light of the Jedi did a really great job in providing me a really enjoyable Star Wars story without having to have the main Star Wars characters. It does still have Jedi and Sith and all of these nebulous bad guys, but it is not a Skywalker story. This is very much a story about the Jedi, and I think it's awesome. It's really well written. There are definitely some slight weird messagings still, but it is not really that big of a deal. This one specifically follows what happens after the Light of the Jedi, of course. It has a lot of like breaks in time from the original story, which would be filled out by all of the other stories across all of the other media that they made. But this one follows what happens after. We are following the what are they called? The Nile, as they're kind of doing more things. Martian Row is over there trying to kill the Jedi in some way, it seems like. And the Jedi are trying to help Sinaloa, I think that's her name, the current chancellor, to do her wonderful, like, 70s style fairs and science fairs and, expos and stuff. And there's a lot of, fighting that goes on, but there's also a lot of tension between characters. Elsar Man seems to be interested in this woman that is preparing one of these fairs for Sinaloa, but he's also kind of into Avar Kriss, who's the main female Jedi character that we have in this story. And then there's this guy called Bell, who's another Jedi who is kind of fighting for his life in a different corner of the universe. There's Barry Yuga, who is a Wookiee, who is just a very empathetic character. Quite like him a lot. And there's a lot of stuff going on in this story, and it's really, really well done. It's well balanced. I really enjoy it. I can't wait for the Fallen Star, I think, which is the third story, and hopefully Phase 2, which is also going to be part of this section of the storytelling, but it's going to be 200 years before. I'm not sure how that works, but it's pretty interesting. And the Star Wars High Republic is a pretty good stuff. There's some is putting out some pretty good stuff so far. So if you're curious about it and you're a Star Wars fan and you want some good Star Wars content that is not outside of continuity, like the Legend stuff, this might be a good one. I definitely only recommend the adult novels. I have not read anything else in the series, so I can't vouch for it, but it might be good. I'm not too sure. I might check out the YA novels. I might not. I might check out the manga. I might not. I'm not sure. I haven't really decided, but so far this stuff is really good. So yeah, I quite enjoy it. Now, let's do the light novels first, and then we'll do the manga itself. So digital light novels, the only one I actually finished reading this month was Sponge Your Life. And I did start the Fruit of Evolution, which is the first series that has been put out by Hanashi Media, who is a new light novel company that is trying to work for both the U.S. and Latin American communities, in Mexico and other places. And it's really interesting. Like, their company is really interesting. The novel isn't really much to go off yet. It has an anime already, which is interesting. I saw it on Crunchyroll, I think, the other day. And I didn't watch it, but what I've read so far of the story is pretty mild. Basically, we get introduced to this main character who has a name that he thinks sounds like for a pretty boy. He's kind of a fat guy, and people make fun of him. Eventually, there is this isekai situation. I haven't gotten to that point yet, and I think he's gonna, meet a girl who happens to also be a giant red ape. So that's pretty interesting. It sounds fun. I'm excited to get into it. I just have not gotten around to doing so, but I will do so soon because I want to make a review for it, of course, because Hanashi Media needs a lot of support right now, or at least I want to give them a lot of support right now. So there you go. In terms of physical manga that I don't have with me right now, we have, in physical light novels, specifically English light novels that I don't have with me right now. We have Junit's Aliens Club, C.A. McDivitt's, what was it called? Our World's Magic, or I brought this Our World's Magic to this other world. And there's another one that I read. I can't remember the name of it. No, I think that was it. And then this last one, which is A World Without God, Fallen Angels, which is another original English light novel. This one's published by Moonquill, written by Trite Hexagon. I already did a review for it. I thought it was okay. It's not really my cup of tea, but there's nothing objectively wrong with the story, so definitely check it out if you like things like Haruhi Suzumiya or Devil's a Part-Timer, specifically like the Christian side of things in Devil's a Part-Timer. So yeah, that's all I have to say about Fallen Angels. So yeah, now let's get into the manga. So we have a bunch of digital manga. Let's start with the stuff that I read on the Shonen Jump app. So I read Punk Hazard, the first arc in the Dressrosa saga for One Piece. I read Dressrosa itself, and then I even read Whole Cake Island Saga. So I read Zao, which is a really good arc. I already reviewed Punk Hazard and Dressrosa, so I'm not going to talk about them, but Zao is interesting. I like the addition of the Minks. They're a really interesting race of people, and I'm really liking that Oda is definitely pushing a lot of races into the new world, which kind of makes sense actually. If you look at it from a parallel to the real world, it's really interesting to kind of have these giant groups of people that had previously been pretty unknown show up, which is pretty cool. And Whole Cake Island was really, really good. It was about time that Sanji got a meaningful arc in his story, because post time skip Sanji is lame as heck, man. Like, he just bleeds all over the place, and the only like shining bit of moments that he had are, you know, with Violet, and Whole Cake Island kind of gets rid of that. It makes him a real meaningful, important character again, and it really ties you into all of the issues that Sanji has. In a way, he's such a weirdo because it kind of makes them make sense. So I quite like that. I thought that was pretty well done. So I read, what is that? 300 chapters of One Piece, which is awesome. It's so much though. So I'm going to have reviews for Zao and Whole Cake Island later. Also read Reverie, which is the little 6-chapter bit at the end of Whole Cake Island before we get into Wano. So I'll also do a review for that one. And I really like Reverie because there's just so much stuff happening. It was awesome, and I really like that. And hopefully next month I get into Wano, and so I'll be caught up and right on time to start Bleach in October if all goes well, because I do want to read all of the big three. Technically, Naruto is the only one that I've really ever truly experienced, and so I'm really excited to read Bleach as well. So yeah, that's kind of my plan for the big three. I read Street Fighter Classic Volume 1. I bought this on Bookwalker long ago, and it was pretty interesting. I liked it. It was very similar to my experience with Tekken Bloodlines. It was just a rehash and new explanations to some old games that I've played that I don't really have too much love for or too much care for. So it was interesting to see them from a different perspective, and I quite enjoyed my time with them. I would definitely read another one, but I'm not necessarily sure that I'm going to go out of my way to read another volume of Street Fighter Classic. So yeah, then I read Blue Lock, probably my favorite sports series that I read this month, although maybe not. I think it's either that one or Haikyuu, because I quite like that. So Blue Lock 1 through 3, currently there's only 2 volumes of it available in physical format, but I had digital copies, so I read the first 3, and I'm really happy that I did. I really, really enjoyed it. I think it's right up my alley. It does have an edginess to it, but it is also just kind of a fun action story, and soccer is a sport that I quite like, so I'm pretty happy with my experiences reading Blue Lock. Then we read Haikyuu, volume 1 through 8, I think, so chapters 1 through 71, which are the first 2 arcs of the story, and I quite liked it. I'm really excited to read more of it, but I'm not sure that I'm going to get around to it until maybe November. I haven't really decided, but it is not in the cards for the next month at the very least. So yeah, Haikyuu was really, really good. It's definitely top tier. It's a great sports series. I definitely understand why there's so much Fujo content around it and why it's like Fujo bait, but it's really, really good. I quite like it. I really don't have an issue with it. Like, I'm not saying Fujo bait as like a bad thing. It is what it is, right? It's like free. And I mean, honestly, my favorite series is Saint Seiya. And Saint Seiya is the reason Clamp even got into manga, because they made yaoi of Saint Seiya. So I don't know. I don't really have an issue with that stuff. It's an interesting talking point, so I talk about it. So yeah, Haikyuu was pretty good. Then I read Why Are You Here, Teacher, which is like the most ecchi, ridiculous, fetishy story I've ever read in manga, and I've read some weird stuff. So yeah, Why Are You Here, Teacher is really weird, and it ends on an oddly wholesome note at the end of the story. So I might check out more of it. I'm not too sure. I haven't really decided. So I don't know, but it was pretty good. I didn't do a review for it because I didn't feel like it matched anything else that I was doing this month. But I might do it next month, or whenever I need extra content. I'll throw up my review for Why Are You Here, Teacher. So yeah, then I read Volume 1 of Kuroko's Basketball. I didn't really find this one to be all that interesting. So I don't know. Hikaru no Go was awesome. I read the first volume of that as well. And it was really, really interesting. I actually quite like the supernatural aspect of it. It kind of reminded me of Shaman King, but it was very much its own thing, of course, because it's about this Asian version of chess, this Japanese-esque kind of chess thing. Well, it's not really chess. It's more of a territory game where you're trying to beat out pieces in order to gain territory. It's different from chess, but it is still a strategy game, right? So it's pretty interesting. Then Domestic Girlfriend, Volume 1. I read this for a demographic challenge that they're doing in the Manga Tubers Next community. So Mexican manga tubers are doing a thing in the Spanish-speaking sphere, and they tagged me in it. So I was going to do it. So Domestic Girlfriend is the shonen that I read. I read Basilisk as well, which I didn't really end up liking. The art style is awesome. The story doesn't really appeal to me. It's just like a ninja contest. Or a ninja battle royale, and I didn't find any of the characters compelling, so I'm not really sure that I liked it. But I mean, I might check out the rest of the series if I can get it cheap. So yeah, and I read Chihayafuru 2 and 3, and I loved it. Chihayafuru is an oddly endearing and really intense series. Like, I don't know why the tension between the characters, it's just so powerful, and I really, really like it. And the way that Chihaya is just obsessed with Kurata, but also wants to connect with people through it, is really, really good. I quite like it. It's really, really well done. So, yeah. Then, let's look at all the physical manga that I read. So, I'm not going to do these in order. I'm just going to do them how I put them on my pile. So, it's going to be all over the place. But let's start with one that is chronological, which would be Captain Tsubasa. This is a Mexican edition, and I really, really liked it. I also really like this tiny size. It's kind of annoying in terms of like how big the font can be, but in terms of how it feels in your hand, this is the perfect size. I like this a lot. I think it's really, really good. The story is interesting. It has a very nostalgic lean to it for me. I really remember watching this TV show in Mexico when I was a little boy, and I remember being interested in soccer because of this series. But I don't ever remember the original starting point of the series. So getting to read it was really good, and I quite liked it, and I really enjoyed it, actually. It's really, really good. Even Blue Lock makes reference to this. There's this part in Blue Lock where this character says that he's not going to be the ball's friend or anything stupid like that. And that's a direct reference to Captain Tsubasa, because Captain Tsubasa's motto is that he's friends with the ball. And that's why the ball is able to do what he wants it to do. So it's pretty fun. I quite liked it, and I thought it was really good. There's 36 other volumes of this, and that's just the original series. So I don't know if I'm going to collect it anytime soon, but I am hoping to do so at some point. So maybe next time that Panini has a digital sale, or a sale on their digital store, I might buy some more. I actually just missed one because I don't have funds to buy any manga right now. Otherwise, I would have already ordered some. So yeah, here we have Rooster Fighter 2. It's actually one of the more recent volumes that I read. This is also from Mexico, and I really enjoyed it, actually. This gets rid of the kind of weekly Monster of the Week kind of vibe, and it does a more cohesive, direct storyline. We get to see that the character introduced at the very end of the last character is actually a hen, not a rooster, and that she has a history with our main character. And they interact with each other, and then there's this development of the plot line, because at the end of the day, the Rooster Fighter is only fighting because he wants to avenge his little sister. So there you go. It's pretty fun. It's really interesting. I quite liked it. It was really, really good. And it even had little like Yagan or maybe even like Tomie kind of vibes to it. So that's pretty interesting. City Hunter 2, quite like it. This, underground James Bond of Japan is a really cool guy. Well, this is his female character, but this is him. And he's a really interesting character. I quite like it. I really enjoy this like hard-boiled crime show vibe that this story has. I'm definitely going to continue collecting this. I think I have 23 more of these to buy, and I don't know when I'll buy them, but I definitely want to buy at least one more here soon. So yeah, then we have Gleipnir Volume 4. This is a really good story. I'm really enjoying how it's developing. It's kind of slow feeling, but it is also really interesting. There's a lot of tension developed here between our main character and the girl that hangs out with him, or like it goes inside him to be, this powerful creature. And there's also a lot of development of the mystery of the characters. So I'm really excited to read more of it, and I quite liked it. Also, this cover is just badass. It's so interesting. Then we continue with Shangri-La Frontier Volume 1 and the accompanying light novel. Now, this is from Mexico, and this is called the Expansion Pass. It comes with a little light novel and the main volume of the story. So the problem is that Panini decided to only make the first volume expansion pass, and they're not gonna make any more. So there's no point in me waiting to collect the Mexican edition. So what I'm gonna do is probably switch over to the American one if I decide that I want to continue the series, which I kind of do, but I'm not too sure right now because I have way too many open series that I want to collect this year. So I don't know, but Shangri-La Frontier is a surprisingly good story. It follows this guy who plays really trashy games and eventually gets bored of them and is recommended to play a really good game, which happens to be Shangri-La Frontier. He gets into it, and through a variety of circumstances, unlocks certain events that basically turn his awesome game into one of the shitty games he loves, and so he's really excited to get into the story. So that's all it is, basically. And the art style here is really, really great. It does manage to have this kind of sense of a really high-quality graphics video game. I don't know how to say it, but it's really interesting, and the way the action is set up is really good. This light novel focuses on the girl that likes the main character, and it kind of details her story before the beginning of the story, before the beginning of the manga. So it's pretty interesting. I don't like reading in Spanish. Like, I don't like reading novels in Spanish because they feel too pretentious for what they're trying to tell you. And so it's kind of difficult to enjoy reading them. So I took a long time reading this, 25-page book. But overall, I found the story interesting. Not really all that good, but interesting nonetheless. And I really wish that they did more of these because I think it's a really awesome kind of idea. But, Panini just sucks sometimes. So it is what it is. I read some Slam Dunk as well. I read these two. These are the Kanzenban-esque editions that Panini has. This is 1 and this is 2, obviously. This ends right before they begin their first game against another school. And I actually quite like the first chapter. I found the rest of the first volume to be kind of boring. It ends really good. And I like the little moment that he has where he slam dunks on the captain of the basketball team. And then the second one is mostly training. And then there's a lot of tension there at the end. So I'm definitely hooked for the story. But I can't say that I loved it from the get-go. Not the same way that I liked Haikyuu or Blue Lock. But it is kind of an older series. So obviously there's going to be a different expectation. Readers were different 30 years ago when this was published. So, it's entirely understandable that it's going to be different. But it just, compared to modern stuff, it's just so slow. So it is what it is. I don't really have a problem with it. It's just kind of different. So yeah, and then Beauty and the Beast, Volume 3. I'm really sad that the spine is not properly aligned, but it is what it is. Square Enix is having a lot of trouble lately because they're trying to pump out as much as they can, and they're falling into Kodansha-esque behavior, and it's pretty bad, but it is what it is. I'm not going to complain too much about it. It's all right at the end of the day. It's not like it's going to kill me, right? But the story is real good. I really enjoy it. This one follows Yakumo as she meets the main character's little sister. She helps her cook a meal for her brother, and they develop a really interesting little relationship. And then we develop Yakumo's relationship with the main character a bit more, and then with her friend Yuri, who kisses people when she's drunk, and she ends up kissing Yakumo, and she makes our main character go, all crazy. And it's really interesting. I quite like it, and it's really good. And we also get a lot of Yakumo's backstory as well, so we get to learn why she is the way she is, and the relationship that she had with her husband. So pretty interesting. We have Drifting Dragons 10. I was blissfully caught up to the series for like a day, and I am no longer caught up, but I'm really happy that I'm not, because this volume ended really well, and I'm really excited to get into the next one, and I'm hopefully going to go buy that next volume here soon. I don't know when, but hopefully soon. And yeah, it's really, really good stuff. I'm quite happy with this book, and I'm really happy that there's no Kodansha disease on it yet. The edges of the book are not horribly bent or messed up, but the spine is not aligned correctly. So, you got to take what you can get. So it is what it is, right? Kodansha always does shitty stuff with their books, but sadly they publish some of the best stories. So what are you gonna do about it? We have Record of Ragnarok 3. Really liked it. I'm really happy that I'm continuing with the series, and I can't wait for volume 4. I think it comes out sometime in October, and I'm really excited. It's just dudes punching other dudes, and it's badass as fuck, and it's so cool, and I really, really enjoyed it. And then the last thing that I read this month is Pokemon Adventures. So yeah, I think actually this is not the last thing I read this month, but it is one that I read recently, and it's good. I really liked it. I really like this edition as well. I wish there was French flaps or something, because this doesn't feel stiff enough for the weight of the book, because this is a very hefty boy. This is really well done. This is, signature levels of good. This is almost on par with the Monster edition, or the Monster Collector's editions, or those Kanzenban editions that they have for Naoki Urasawa's Monster. But, without those French flaps. And I really wish they were there, because it would add a little bit of stiffness to the book. But overall, it's pretty good. I quite like it. The story is fun. This covers the red, blue, and green storyline, which is the first 3 volumes. And then the next one, which is going to be a blue cover with blue on the cover, is actually the yellow part of the story. So that's going to be the 3 volumes that correspond to Pokemon Yellow. And then I don't know what happens after that, but I'm definitely going to pick up the next one. I actually really enjoyed the Pokemon Adventures manga. It was a really fun, really quick read. Each chapter is only 15 pages long, and there's like 50 chapters in this first volume. So really good stuff. I quite liked it. I thought it was really well done, and can't wait for more. So yeah, that's everything I read this month. That's also everything I watched this month. It's basically everything that I consumed this month, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know it's a lot. It's a very long video, so I hope you guys stayed with me, and thank you guys very much for watching. See you guys later.